again to say sorry. Or to hear them respond that, okay, don't need to worry. I pray that Allah forgives you. You and I, that could be either within our family. It could be as simple as your children, right? Even where we have a right, for example, to chastise, but as a parent, you feel, subhanAllah, one day I chastise my child. Maybe I was wrong. Even where that child is not going to say, oh, dad, no, I forgive you. But we've stepped on so many people's toes on our way in our life. And many of those people they will never be back again in our life to say, La tathriba alaykum. They will never say, don't need to worry. The kibuka don't need to worry. So we have a chance, but we really have to think. But when it comes to parents, this is really very, very, very important. Those of you who still have your parents, please take advantage of the moment. At least of all people you can ever hurt. Do not, because not many of them will be as considerate as Yaqub. We are not told about Yusuf's mom because we don't know. Maybe she was not alive. The whole story tells us about the father. I don't know whether she was still alive. I don't know. I haven't read much about that. But it could be the mother was equally hurt. And when a mother is hurt, she's hurt 3 times more than the father is hurt. Because that's how even the duty of obedience to them lies upon us in 3 proportions more than the parents. So we really have to think about this. So what is our personal development goal? What is it that we set ourselves to avoid in our life? It could be someone at work. It could be a colleague at school. It could be a friend. In all these, we are infringing on so many of people's rights. And some of them reflect the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yusuf and Yusuf's brothers, we are lucky. We are blessed because their father, he wasn't so much worried. He said, قالوا يا أبانا استغفر لنا ربنا. They had a chance to say, Dad, we know you have found out the truth. It was a cocktail of lies when he told you that Yusuf has been devoured by the wolf. And even if we say, we know you can't believe us, even if you are telling the truth, guilt conscious. But he says, he said a very simple word at that moment that, subhanAllah, Sheikh, can you remind what he said? He said a very simple word. Allahu musta'an, fasabrun jamilun, wallahu musta'an. He said just those 2 words. And then later on that sabr paid. And when the moment came and they realized that, yes, this was the truth and they were lying, he was more than happy to say, Astaghfiru lakum rabbi innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. But we may not get that chance. So we have to be very careful. What is our personal development goal? What are we going to do? What do we learn from this? And what are we planning to do? Never, ever walk out, because if you walk out without a goal, without a new target, set target for yourself in life. It is what, Dr. Ashraf mentioned, and we alluded to it before. It's like you have accumulated all this knowledge, but you're not planning to put it into practice. So that was another lesson that we need to think about. And Yusuf was not selfish, was looking at the highest, possible dividend. He was not seeking for vengeance, and he's not even asking for them to say sorry. Let me hear that 5-letter word from you. He was not so much worried about that, but he knew as a human being, he owed it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that was a very, very important message. And this surah, as we mentioned before, is one that is full of so many lessons. But at the end, let us end with the very last ayah, which is quite very, subhanAllah, very interesting. It ends with exactly what it started. The surah ends with what it started with. نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن وإن كنت من قبله Just to make sure that the scene is set, just make sure your heart, is rested. Don't think this is fiction. We are telling you the best of stories, and they are real stories, and there are lessons to learn from it, even if you may not have been paying attention to them. At the end of the day, at the end of the surah, what does Allah say? لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Indeed, in the story of Yusuf and his brothers, there have been lessons to you, people of mind, of reflective mind. For you who look at this story and mirror it to themselves and try to relate themselves. Put yourself in the shoe of Yusuf and relate to your own environment. How many people have you had in the process? Have you been on the side of those who have been plotting, or you have been the victim? And even if you're the victim, what have you done? Have you been, vengeful in your response? Did you lose trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Did you appreciate the moments of difficulty and adversity as opportunities? And how did you come out of those difficulties? لقد كان في قصصهم عبرة لأولي الألباب ما كان حديثا يفترى. It was never meant to be a fiction. This story is not a fiction. No. ولكن تصديق الذي بين يديه. But it is meant to be an affirmation of that which is in front of you. That story is meant to be an affirmation of everything that truth is all about. Truth as it comes in the Quran and all the moral lessons that come with it. وَتَفْصِيلًا كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, and an explanation of everything. And above all, there is a guidance and there is mercy to those who are dutiful to Allah, those who have accepted Allah as their Lord, and they are labeled as believers. Very powerful. I mean, the Quran, subhanAllah, amazing. Every single story has its own meaning, has its moral lesson, has its own powers of changing people's lives. But I think Surah Yusuf is very unique in that every time you read it, you just want to go back and read it. But no surah, I would say, no story has been given the best conclusion as this one, because it takes you back exactly from where it all started. It is the truth, and if you have to reflect on it, there is huda, there's explanation, there is guidance, and there is mercy, but subject to if you accept Allah as your Lord. I want to take some contributions. Sorry. Dr. Ashraf, what's your take on that last ayah, please?
Bismillah. There is the two statements that Allah wa ta'ala mentions in that verse. لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. That is statement number one. Then he talked about مَا كَانَ حَدِيثًا يُفْتَرَى وَلَكِنْ تَصْدِيقًا الَّذِي بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ وَتَفْصِيلَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ. He has already said أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. Now he's coming, the same verse, the way Allah لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Then he tells you something in between and takes you back. So the surah began with, he is ending with what he started with, but even within the last ayah, the final verse, he is doing it again in the mini version. It means that Ulil Albab, how did you translate that, Sheikh Sulaiman, in English?
I would say people of, reflective mind.
Yeah, this story is going to benefit those with a reflective mind. And then at the end, he say, Hudan wa rahma liqawmi yu'minun. So it means that in this verse, if we are to make the tafsir of the ulul albab with the same verse, it will be yu'minun.
Yeah.
It means that Muslims, being a person of iman and faith, does not negate the fact that you have a reflective mind and heart. So while we think a lot as Muslims, and we are encouraged to do that, our thinking can never contradict our faith. So we do both. So the person with a reflective mind is the person who actually believes in Allah wa ta'ala. And of course, that belief in Allah is going to help them believe in this story. Sheikh Sulaiman is talking about personal growth goals, self-growth goals. And these are very important because it means that if you're to be a sound thinker, you have to have faith. You can't lead a life without faith. And where do you think and whom do you think deserves your utmost faith and utmost understanding? Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And Allah tells you the best of stories for you to benefit. So how about you just give all your attention to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala and the Quran and Sunnah? That is how you become a scholar. I was telling, I use this because I'm a teacher myself, like Sheikh Sulaiman introduced. So I have many examples from my students. I told them, you can have all these systems that can nurture the way you think, your intellect, but you will always be no match to a person who has been nurtured and groomed by the faith and the Islamic tradition. Aristotle was great, Plato was great. We even have some modern thinkers like Napoleon here and a few more that are still living. But should you try to read books of Ibn al-Jawzi, you will see that there is no match. And should you try to read Ibn al-Qayyim's books, you will see that should you read how philosophical and deep Ibn Taymiyyah was, Al-Imam al-Ghazali was, you will wonder. So you want to become the best of thinkers, very reflective, you have to believe in Allah, then you start understanding the Quran and follow the path that the Salaf followed. A reflective mind is a result of faith. And that is how you benefit from these stories in the Quran. This is how it becomes ibrah i'tibar. You counsel yourself. It becomes a lesson. You derive lessons. And that is how many scholars in the Salaf wrote books that are way bigger than their teachers. Because when you study with the ikhlas, Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala teaches you himself. You cannot start imagining that Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, Imam al-Mufassirin, was taught that tafsir. He was taught the tools. And he became a reflective thinker and a believer, and Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala opened up the doors of knowledge. So, brothers and sisters, we are asked by Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala and commanded to think just as much as we are commanded to believe. So as Muslims, we believe and we think. We have both systems. We don't need to drop the faith because we want to think. We don't need to adopt the faith and follow blindly. We think and we reflect. And that is the only way we shall get the lessons from what Allah wa ta'ala tells us. So I thought those would be some comments I should make right now, Sheikh Sulaiman, but like you clearly stated it, Surah to Yusuf. There is an encyclopedia, I remember I shared that. Mawsu'at Surah Yusuf. A whole encyclopedia, and still when you read it, you discover that there is still more to add. This one surah. When Allah says, Nahnu naqussu alayka, we are going to narrate or tell you ahsan al-qasas, the best of stories. Why? Because it is the best who is telling the story in the best book. And I mean, nothing could be better. And of course, if you understand this, you will be able to understand why there is that debate amongst the scholars. Was Adam more beautiful and handsome, or Yusuf was? Those who said no, Adam was better, is because Allah created Adam with his hands. And then all the history and the books that we read say Yusuf had half of the beauty of all of us. So who was better? Now, when Allah tells you a story, you can't bring any best. Who are some of the current best storytelling people? There is this lady, I listened to her once. She's a good storyteller. She can captivate minds of people. Lisa Nicole something. Now, it is not just Lisa. It is Allah wa ta'ala telling you the story. And maybe finally, as I was saying that, I remembered something. I think those who wish to be better communicators, since we talked about personal development and self-growth, you should adopt this model of storytelling. Allah Ta'ala conveyed lots of messages and meanings through a story. So work on your storytelling techniques. How do you start? How do you end? Allah gave you the formula. He kept you on track. Go and read Surah Yusuf just for that purpose. How beautifully Allah narrated that story, and all of us could not even exhaust the meanings within that story. So sometimes that is a very powerful tool you can adopt if you wish to be teaching, if you to be talking to people and doing da'wah in your way. Storytelling is very big. Allah told us a story, but ahsan al-qasas, the best. Thank you very much, Sheikh Sulaiman. I feel I might go on and Abu Jamal is tired.
No, I'm not tired. I'm just enjoying. As he was talking, you was raising my iman and my love for Allah, and I was actually thinking. My mind drifted into the stories they tell us about paradise, and I say, are we going to be able to see Allah? Where all of this is coming from? That's where my mind was going, and I say, SubhanAllah. Are we going to be able to see Allah? And alhamdulillah, I was in a different mind as you told all of this about Allah telling us the stories for a purpose, and how big Surah Yusuf is, and how it can be expanded and upscaled, and how much we can learn out of it, how encyclopedic it is. And I was thinking, it's great. Are we going to see Allah? Allahu Akbar, Allah the Great. That's where my mind was going, subhanAllah.
I want to continue that journey. Allah,
I think this is the beauty of when the hadiths say that majtama' qawmun fi baytin min buyutillah. Now we have virtual bites min buyutillah. Some people think that these Zoom classes are not bait min buyutillah. This is a virtual house of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. It's not yours, Sheikh Sulaiman, or mine. And the angels will cover you. And then the blessings and Allah's mercy starts. I think this is what Abu Jamal and all of us are experiencing. Having a moment to reflect and be present with Allah's message. Cut off all the distractions from the world, the worries, and focus on Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Forget everything else. We're having the best meditation, dhikrullah. And this is why Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala said, Udhkurullaha dhikran kathiran. He told you just make dhikr. Remember Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Kathiran, you choose whatever you call kathiran as a human being. Shuri al-jins, the genus was prescribed. Wal-kayf and the how was left for you to just go with your mind and remember Allah, because as much as you are present with Allah, you will definitely get something. So Abu Jamal,
Now,
may Allah wa ta'ala grant us hearts and minds that are present, and that is how we learn Islam.
I mean, Alhamdulillah, it's good to be God conscious, and we don't forget our audience. We are trying to build a community. Um, what we have in our intention is to build a community that is God conscious and is free, and a community for you guys to come and enjoy your deen, not to be judged. We realize that most of the time when religious people meet and we talk about haram. We almost meet, and talk, come and meet and talk about what is haram. We want to have a community which is global, inshallah, bi'idhin Rahman. And already we have a community in Mexico that is very keen. It's a very beautiful community, very, very dedicated. They want to learn the deen, and I suggested that we learn with them, that because they're part of our community, we've already achieved. This is an achievement for 2S to grow, for you guys and us, that we have a community in Mexico that want to learn our deen. And we're going to plan these lessons with all of you guys so that we can all come and enjoy. And inshallah, probably that will set a trend, and another community will join us, and another community will join us. We have links to Nigeria, Ghana. We have links to other parts of the world. I think we have something coming up, inshallah. But it is a bit. It's not what you see on the surface. It takes a lot in the background, but it's very beautiful and it's very fulfilling. Now, the hardest job, you realize it when you start doing dawah, that these sheikhs who are teaching us are doing a very, very humble job and a very hard job. You don't realize how difficult it is until you get involved with them. Because today I was driving my car and I was thinking, Rasulullah must have been very strong, because to do all of the things he did, and for such a long time, and have the results he had, it's a very, very great job. And as we are here on Twist to Grow, you and us are doing something that is a continuation of the message. And we want you to join us, but we also want you to be very free here on Twist to Grow, and realize we are planning not to judge anybody, and we want to be all inclusive with our levels. And inshallah, work with us, spread our message. If we put out a message for the classes to come, we put it out in advance, and we want you to spread it, and we want you to join it and come and enjoy it. And inshallah, jazakallah khair. That was my message.
Yeah, jazakallah khair, Abu Jamal. Please, before we go to our next event, we're running out of time. It will be very helpful if we can hear one or two comments from the students, especially about, what have you learned from the surah, and what do you think? Can you share with us what you think what you've learned, if it is adopted in our daily life, can change us, individuals or communities? I'll do that for 2 minutes, inshallah. Let's see.
If Abu Jamal asked a question, if we shall see Allah, and the answer is yes, maybe we shall expound on that next time. But I wanted to comfort you that you are definitely going to see that. Surah Al-Qiyamah, I think verse 22, وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة. So your eyes shall be very beautiful as they look at Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, the day of judgment. And all the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah believe that. So we shall be able to see Allah. That is what they meant, that لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا الْحُسْنَى. When Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says you will be given the best and beyond. So that beyond is seeing Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, according to some Mufassirin. So Abu Jamal, sit put. Stay put, inshallah. Good things are coming here in dunya and the day judgment, inshallah.
MashaAllah. Exactly.
Alhamdulillah. We've got Katie Akram. I'll unmute Katie Akram. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaykum
Assalam.
assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, brothers. My name is Kati Akram. I am a good friend to Sheikh Ramadan.
MashaAllah.
We worked together at a certain school called the Milestones Junior School. He teaches Quran, I teach Tarbiyah, and he some time back taught me about this Dawah group. Sorry if I call it a group and it isn't, I'm new. But he taught me about it and I liked the idea. I also want some people who inspire me like this to have a certain take in Dawah. Lucky enough, I've found a certain figure, a very big figure I follow on social media. He's called Sheikh Ashraf mutagubya. Lucky enough, mashallah, I've been following him so long. I know he can't know me. And so this is very, very good. He informed me back, Sheikh Ramadan informed me back, but we've been very busy with the students. They are back, but since I am in lockdown, he reminded me and I really caught up with this, and I think I shall be online always. And even the schedule is very good. It isn't daily. It is just a few days. To give I think I should give some information about myself. If so, with that background, I happen to also have some little channels I conduct. I have a channel called the New Muslim Bootcamp, where I thought of an idea of what I teach here at school. I should just put it in English, then I teach it freely to the world. Whoever shall access it, shall access it. It isn't the way this Sheikh Mutagubya does it. My way shall be just, for him it is reminding and increasing someone's iman, his words, mashallah, but mine it is just like courses. How can you read Quran? How can you read Yasalna? In some sense like that. So with that, I think it shall be enough. Let me go to the topic. We've been reminding, I've been hearing you, Sheikh. I haven't known the name yet. I just see 2S2 grow. Maybe I should, sorry, but okay. I will ask it, Sheikh Ramadan. You've been talking about Surah Yusuf, and even Sheikh Mutagubya did put some comments about it, which were very good. I thank Sheikh Ramadan. I always love his recitation very well. So what I can learn from this Surah Yasin, really, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did put some actions, let me call them practices on earth, whereby none of the mankind can keep aside from doing them, illa except the one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put his command upon him to avoid them. The great practice is committing some adultery, something like that, adultery, or having haram sexual intercourse. This has been committed with generations and generations and generations. yet it is very forbidden before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises those who keep, he says, وَالْحَافِظِينَ فُرُوجَهُمْ, and those who keep their, should I call it, private parts, except where he allowed them, like their wives or their husbands. This is a very big practice one can't avoid, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he does what? When he how can I call it? When he protects you. From this surah, it is the first topic, whereby Yusuf alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ. Yusuf alayhi salam could have also liked the woman, and the woman also could have liked Yusuf. But if at all it wasn't Allah's lawla, if at all it wasn't God's command on Yusuf, Yusuf alayhi salam wouldn't have avoided it. We could have talked to him, we could have talked about him in a way that he did it, but because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put a command upon him or helped him. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps those who try to find guidance. Well, those who try to find guidance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps them. So if Yusuf tried to keep himself, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped him. We are talking about a wife of a king. You know, these guys, you know, these people, they live wealthy, they have everything, they look beautiful, they are. So a person to avoid a lady like that, it is a very big something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows on whom he likes. So if at all we learn that to reach Yusuf's level, we can't reach it by our own struggling, you know that our own, then we just know that we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give it to us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us like Yusuf in cases like those. Even to explain this better, you know, Yusuf's action on that woman is a very big one. Yusuf's decision on that lady was a very big one. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us about the people who will be under the shade of, the groups of people who will be under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, whereby everywhere there won't be any shade except the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Amongst those groups, he reminded us about a man who was being called by a lady to have some haram sexual intercourse. Then he did what? He feared Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَرَجُلٌ دَعَتْهُ إِمْرَأَةٌ حَسْنَةٌ. Even a man who was being called by a certain lady, that mansubin wa jamal. The Prophet said, when even that lady, that mansubin, he has a very big status. So you are looking, how can I call it? It is the case. It is the scenario of Yusuf. The lady is very beautiful. That mansubin wa jamal, he has a very big status. Yet Yusuf says, I fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I first of all learn from that surah that it is first of all to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us that. It is a very big ni'mah in this world where we are living, especially we who the youth, we who are trying to make some dawah, we who are trying to make some some impact on people's iman. That is a very, very big ni'mah if we do have it, because if you look around all the prophets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he sent, none of them committed that. None of them. What were they doing? They were calling people to Allah. What are sheikhs doing now? They are calling us to Allah. So anyone to have that, then it means that he has a very good name. He has a very good example before the people he is calling. So what I really learned most is that to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put us in that category. One of the dua maybe we can use, Allahumma ikfina bihalalika an haramika waghnina bifadlika amman siwak. One of my last point I would like it to be what we learn from, because I've heard Sheikh say that he said that this is the one, by the way, I had never heard of it. I've just learned it today. This is the only story in Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after telling us how it began, he even told us how it ended, in where it ended exactly. Get it? Now, it began, what I've learned that it began when Yusuf alayhi salam was good before his father. He liked him. These brothers got jealous about him. In the middle, then he was taken where? After from his father, he was dumped into the how can I call it? He was dumped where he was caught with this, where he was moved from where the traders got him, then taken to market. You get it? From being in a good situation, now you've gone to the worst one. From the market,